The sedate town of Conway on Britain's North Wales coast couldn't offer a greater contrast for the athletes about to face one of the world's toughest mountain challenges, the Dragon's Back. The inaugural running of the Jet Dragon's Back race was thought to be so daunting that Colonel Joe Poraj-Wileński and his men from the British Army's Parachute Regiment were asked to provide race support. The competitors, organized in pairs, represent the best of mountain, fell and ultra-distance running from around the world. Walsh and Wendy Dodds. Tom Posset from the United States, winner of the Death Valley race. Stefan Schlett from Germany. Britain's mixed pair, Hélène Diamantides and Martin Stone, and a contingent of paras, not to be outdone on their own stomping ground. The Dragon's Back is a challenge to slay the Dragon of Wales, the ancient symbol of the Principality, by conquering all the major mountains of its rugged spine from north to south, 220 miles and 50,000 feet of climbing in 5 days. 27 pairs of runners make the leisurely start from beneath the imposing battlements of Conway Castle. There are no hares in this race. The first day route covers 36 miles and 8 mountains of over 2,500 feet. Day 1 traverses the beautiful Snowdonia National Park. The leaders will complete it in about 8 hours. Some of the field will take at least 12. As the runners contemplate the rigors to come, the tranquil daily life of rural Wales is left rippling in their wake. A less domesticated onlooker awaits them in the mountains. Here, the terrain is as difficult as anywhere in the world. The autumn climate, dangerously unpredictable. 3 hours into the race, and the leaders have crossed 4 major peaks and covered nearly 20 miles. But still to come, the almost sheer 1,800 feet face of Tryfan, a high traverse across the Glyders. And finally, Arwyddfa itself, known in English as Snowdon, the highest peak in Wales at over 3,500 feet. By early afternoon, the Dragon's Back is already taking a heavy toll of its would-be conquerors. As the leaders begin their ascent of Snowdon, some of the field are over 3 hours behind. The beautiful beast of the Welsh mountains will not easily be slain. It takes the leading pairs over 6 hours to reach the summit of Snowdon. The first day honours will go to the British fell runners. 3 pairs, Walford and Clark, Belton and McDermott, and the mixed pair of Diamantides and Stone have established a significant lead. After nearly 7 hours of running, climbing, scrambling, and navigating through mountain mists, the leaders reach the relative comfort of the road to the finish. Diamantides and Stone have made a break in the mists of Snowdon to establish a 2-minute lead. The other 2 leading pairs, much stronger on the flatter sections, are trying hard to close the gap. But day 1 will go to the only mixed pair in the race. They complete over 36 miles of the toughest terrain in the world in just under 7 hours. They stride into the finish looking as though they've just been for a gentle stroll in the hills, their appearance disguising their achievement. 9 of the original 27 pairs of elite runners have already withdrawn in the intense heat of the Dragon's fiery breath.
then we sneaked off the top of Snowdon Summit and before they could gather themselves. It was really good.
But the three leading pairs, with finishing times only a few minutes apart, have struck a mortal blow. As the Dragon retreats to lick its wounds, the runners must spend the hours of darkness as productively as possible. Rest and relaxation and vital nourishment for the next day's fight. And you can't recruit better allies in a fight than the Parachute Regiment. At their overnight camp, it's time to discuss strategy.
I'm worried about day 3.
I dread to think what's going to happen from now on, to be honest. I think we had a nice day today, and we'll just make that.
Tomorrow should be good because it's out in the hills as well. But then after that, you hit the more runnable stuff, which isn't quite our scene, which is why I tried to cash in on that as much as today as possible.
5:30 the next morning. Tired limbs to be stretched, sore muscles to be massaged, hot food to be had, and a route to be planned. It's a 7 o'clock start. Day 2 is over 48 miles. There are 7 major peaks to climb, and the ground is much less well known than Snowdon. It includes the dreaded Rhinogs, where the terrain is probably the most difficult on the whole route. Some of the runners have had only 4 hours sleep. They face another 15 hours in the mountains. There's still plenty of fight in the Dragon. The beautiful scenery of central Wales, the heart of the Welsh Dragon. Last week we watched as the world's best mountain athletes began their campaign to slay the legendary dragon. This week, the battle is rejoined. After 2 days of effort, the athletes attempting the inaugural Jet Dragon's Back race are about to begin day 3 of their epic journey. Over a third of the original field of 27 pairs of runners have already dropped out of the race. 220 miles in 5 days, almost a double marathon a day across mountain terrain. 85 miles are already covered. Day 3 is another 46 grueling miles. The elite runners at the front of the field are beginning to come to terms with the demands of the new event. Finishing the course is still the main objective, but the leaders are beginning to think about winning. The scent of competition is in the air. At the end of day 2, the only mixed pair in the race, Britain's Hélène Diamantides and Martin Stone, had lost their first day lead, finishing 4 minutes behind another British pair, Adrian Belton and Mark McDermott. 2 hours into day 3, Diamantides and Stone are trying desperately to regain the ascendancy.
Must be a little stream somewhere. We'll drink enough here.
Take water with us, Martin.
God.
They both know that the second half of the race has much more road running than the ground already covered and will favour their main rivals. At the midpoint of day 3, the leaders pass almost unnoticed through the bustle of a Welsh market day. Diamantides and Stone have had a good mountain section. They've eradicated the deficit and established a healthy lead. The lead is over 20 minutes as they come off the last mountain section. They've been joined by John Redmayne, one of the other highly respected British runners. He's no longer in the competition. His partner retired on the second day. McDermott leads his partner off the final mountain. They've had their worst day, but they're reassured in knowing that 20 minutes is not a huge margin in a race of this kind. Diamantides and Stone complete the third day in 7 hours 31 minutes, an accumulated time of 22 hours 17 minutes for the 3 days. McDermott and Belton eventually finish with a 24-minute deficit. The rest of the field are losing contact. It's going to be a 2-pair race. The Army Field Kitchen is also winning an endurance battle. The runners are eating enough to feed a whole regiment. The leaders survey the next day's route with trepidation. The extensive road running sections are going to be tortuous. The beginning of day 4 appears to be colder, wetter and darker than the others. But perhaps it just seems that way after 131 miles of running over mountains and 4 nights under canvas. 47 miles. It's the flattest part of the course and the most scenic. But there's nothing picturesque about the early morning rain, as the pattern for the day is set. The strong road runners, including McDermott and Belton, start at a pace more like a 10K race. They're trying to run Diamantidis and Stone into the ground. It's going to be a long and lonely day.
Say something for the camera as well. Back up the next one.
McDermott and Belton are the first home in 7 hours 20 minutes. Their tactics have paid off handsomely. A 24-minute deficit is transformed into a 5-minute lead. Their rivals have struggled all day. Diamantidis has had a particularly painful journey. With more stretches of road to come on the final day, the race may be slipping away from the mixed pair.
Warming up.
Adrian Belton warms to the task ahead on the final day. He and his partner are in a strong position. Day 5 will begin with a staggered start.
30 seconds to the first 3.
The leading pair go off with the main pack, who are not in contention for the higher places. Ahead of them, 48 miles, the longest day of all. There are long road sections at the beginning, but at the end, the sting and the dragon's tail, the Black Mountains. Diamantidis and Stone have an agonizing 5-minute wait before they can begin their pursuit. They face a daunting task. The leading pair are almost certain to widen their lead on the roads. After 2.5 hours, the 5-minute lead has become 7. The leaders appear to be moving comfortably. With the weather set fair and apparently little prospect of more surprises, the race seems to be over. However, there is a final act to the drama. It's played out high on the remote moonscape of the Black Mountains. McDermott and Belton begin to tire. It's Adrian Belton's turn to have a bad day. Helene Diamantidis is having her strongest day, driving her partnership forwards. They eventually recapture the lead, only to lose it almost immediately through a disastrous navigational error. But McDermott and Belton are a spent force. Belton is in severe pain from shin splints. Diamantidis and Stone descend from the mountains with an unassailable 30-minute lead. Carreg-Cennen, the imposing hilltop finish, is in sight. After 5 days and 220 miles, the Dragon's Back is theirs.
Well done. Come on.
The press will make much of Helene Diamantidis' astonishing achievement in winning a race in the company of elite men. But the real victory belongs to her partnership with Martin Stone, to Sue Walsh and Wendy Dodds, who won the women's race, to Ian Waddle, whose dream it was to make the race happen, and to all the runners who travel to the mountains of Wales to face the challenge of the Dragon's Back.